Like once you learn to pay attention to mimics, gelatinous cubes, traps, once you learn that you should be avoiding combat, being careful in combat, a lot of times you can start a character and survive. Like that's the thing that's player skill. That's learning to be a good player, get experience, and then learn. Some people in the hobby, sadly, a lot of people, sadly, can spend 20 to 30 years playing AD&D 1E and not know this. Like actually just keep playing very carelessly and running into combat when you should be avoiding pretty much all combat as much as you possibly can from levels 1 to 3. They'll keep running at combat because they're trying to play it more like a combat game. And actually, DK, I don't know how many guys are big YouTubers here. And you can go back into their content even like last year. And you can talk to these guys and you ask them what D&D is. They'll say it's a combat game. Now, since I've said otherwise, suddenly all these guys that were calling it a combat game that are bigger YouTubers than me, old school D&D guys, have all gone changing their language suddenly. It's gone from it's a combat game to it's a survival game. And really, it's a survival game. People forgot that detail. And you're not meant to play it like a board game with miniatures. Miniatures really confuse a lot of guys because they play a bit like a board game when they're playing with miniatures. One thing is if you get into D&D, you start realizing it's a survival game. And if you look at the encounters, the encounter information, before they even use language for non-combat encounters, they don't do that. They just call encounters. And all the advice is to avoid. Negotiate your way out. Avoid combat. It's resource training. It's all avoid. So you should be avoiding combat, not going into it. And you should be careful with wandering monsters, not wanting to be in combat. That's why wandering monsters should be a threat to you. And you shouldn't half-ass that. Because you can likely die getting into encounters from levels 1 to 3. You might start off class fighter, but you're really just a farmer. And the game doesn't really start until level 9. And that's, again, AD&D 1E guys. Most of their DMs, unlike 2E DMs, most AD&D 1E DMs stop the game at level 8 and 10. Designers assume you're running it up to level 20. I mean, they strongly assume this. And they even bring out content like the manual planes and stuff like this, assuming you are going to understand that the game really doesn't start until level 9. The idea that you're ending at level 8 means you don't understand AD&D 1E. You're not even classified really as a hero until level 9, because you're not capable of being a hero until level 9. Levels 1 to 3, you're a farmer. You're just a farmer trying to get experience. It's only level 9 when you're capable of actually being called out to go face the dragon. Right? Second, Ed was a lot better at communicating this stuff. This is why I personally think second edition got this all right. This is what a lot of 1E guys don't know because they never crossed over to 2E. They didn't see that most DMs took it to level 20. They didn't see, like, I would tell all my players coming in, I would tell them as a second ed DM, the game doesn't start until level 9. They'd be like, really? Like, yeah, the game doesn't start until level 9. I'd be like, all the levels up to level 9 is just backstory. Like, we're not even officially started. I don't even count the game as officially started until you're level 9. We're going to do your backstory. Think about levels 1 to 9 as a very long session 0. Right? And only at level 9 are you capable of being a hero. And the game actually assists you. That's like, I read the manual planes. I could tell the AD&D 1E DMs didn't understand the manual planes. Like, if you read it, you'd understand they set up the manual planes because they assume high-level gaming is going to be a regular thing. Because you're not even a hero until level 9, even in 1E. Oh, man. I sat there and educated myself really well. I've read all the material. Like, the raw guys, the rules as written guys will always say, why don't you read the material? Why don't you read the material? Well, then I'll actually hear them describing these misunderstandings about AD&D 1E. They actually, they preach about reading the stuff, DK, on X, you've seen this, or elsewhere, I know you've heard of this. Rules as written guys preaching about reading the material, they read it and they still misunderstand AD&D 1E. I'm like, well, dude, I don't even do rules as written. I'm not a rules as written guy, but I've actually read the material and I understand the stuff better than they do. And I don't even follow that course of thinking, like that line of thinking. I'm quite the opposite. I go with Gary Gygax's statement. You master a game through rules as written raw. That's what he thinks. But he thinks after you master the game, you're as educated and well understood on the game as designers are. And how do you make a new edition? When you make a new edition, like you go from 1E to 2E, you're changing core stuff. What Gary believed is once you master one of these games to rules as written like a DM should, you'll understand the game the same way the designer team at TSR understands the game, and the same tweaks they're making from one edition to another you can do without destroying the game. And you can do that so you can tailor things towards the experience you want. And actually, it's actually okay to adjust. He actually expects you to. Like, he actually thinks it's a requirement that you do this. He thinks we're all going to have a different style. And we're all going to want to get different things out of D&D. And D&D is meant to be generic, so you can get different things out of it. He actually thinks that you adjusting how combat works, like in detail, to the core rules, not just optional rules, but to the core. Changing how Thaco works, if you wish. If it benefits what you're looking for, he actually expects, at the time he was alive, he made statements where he expects you to do this. Right? Gary says, master the game through raw and then make changes, even tweaking the core, just like a game designer would, because he expects that you understand the game the same way a game designer would. From 1E to 2E, you drop the battle matrix and even adjust Thaco. And Thaco is simplified. Well, if changing the core would break D&D, how can you do that? You can't. But second ed is still D&D. It still has the same feel, same structure, same everything. Right? Nothing has changed. Like no one says it's not D&D when you realize it's tweaked core stuff. But you can do that when you understand the rules. But I'm like, no, that's not actually a gaming style. That AD&D 1E meat grinder is something that will happen to you when you're inexperienced. When you're an experienced player, the game completely changes. Most characters you make should survive. Period. End story. And that's why it's based on player skill, because it's before you have the experience and improve your skill, of course, it's a meat grinder. It's when you improve and understand to avoid things that then you survive. That's why it's a survival game. And survival is the success thing. So in a survival game, a meat grinder would be completely opposite of the purpose of the game. The designer wants you to make one character and survive. That's success. The idea that you're making multiple characters means something is failing in the system. Or either you're failing as a player, but the game is not meant to do that to you. The game is only meant to do that to someone who's inexperienced in learning. It's like playing Bushido. Bushido, you can dive into the social stuff. You can ruin the reputation of your character. The game could be over before your character has ever did through just a reputation destruction. But the idea is once you learn how to socialize in Bushido games, you should be able to start the game and be fine and play the politics and go up the ladder as freely as you want. It should not just continue to be that inexperienced experience. The idea of the meat grinder in AD&D 1E is just an inexperienced experience that you're having. It's not something meant to be continued on. Now, I'm just giving some wisdom out here. I'm teaching people. I'm teaching people about old school Dungeons and Dragons because I do that. I educate people. I have to educate a lot of old guys. Especially sad, I have to educate a lot of guys that started in the 70s because they'll actually do this stuff. They'll actually misunderstand AD&D 1E, for example, for like 30 or 40 years, and I have to educate them. Like it is like that. I'm not trying to be hateful, but I constantly find myself educating guys who have been in the hobby for longer than I have. But I have to teach them, or I have to go to the Pro OSR guys or people around them that say, read the material, and they misunderstand AD&D 1E, and I have to educate them too, and I don't even follow the concept of rules as written, But me, a non-raw guy, has to teach the raw guy what AD&D 1E is. I have to teach him it's not a war game. I have to teach him it's a survival game. I have to teach him it's not a meat grinder game. Right? I shouldn't have to do that, but I do, because these are the guys that are supposedly reading the material. I'm like, dude, you read it, you just don't understand it. And to know that over 90% of AD&D 1E DMs stopped at levels 8 and 10 and never went further. What a shame, because there's a whole section of the game that exists that designers in TSR invested time and money into, because it's something that you're meant to be doing, and it's just completely fucking ignored. The manual of planes is almost used by nobody. If you look at the Dungeoneer Survival Guide, which I covered last night, and the Wilderness Survival Guide, that's not made really to enhance the modules that you're running. That's made, DK, in a way that you forget that the old sandboxing way is real. And those books still acknowledge not the module redefining a sandbox. They are there to help you with pure sandbox gameplay. No module, you make up the adventure as you go. That old school, the sandbox that you'd still find in the original Traveler. That's the sandbox gaming they did with AD&D and BECME. The modules for BECME are there to teach you the game, not to replace you yourself needing to make further adventures. So the module concept with BECME is there to teach you, but you're still meant to make your own adventures and possibly even your own setting with a pure sandbox system, right? Modules then become a tournament thing, and I understood why they were made, because they're made for the public to be able to have an experience without you needing to go through all this. What TSR finds out when they start doing modules for the tournament thing is people want to take the modules and run them at home. And they start realizing people want to buy them. It's like accidentally coming into a market you don't realize is going to be a money maker, right? Like you don't realize, oh, these pre-made adventures are big. Oh, whoa, they're bigger than what we thought they were. We thought we were just going to challenge people with the tournaments with these because we're nerds and hobbyists and gamers at TSR. That's what they thought they were going to do. They didn't know that they were going to sell like hotcakes. That's a discovery. But what happens is the modules start doing all the work for people, and sooner or later, a complete redefining a sandbox is focused only on the modules so it doesn't kill their sales. And what's funny is a lot of people forget that the Wilderness Survival Guide and Dungeoneer Survival Guide is strangely supportive of pure sandbox, not modules, not the redefining, because I don't call what modules do a sandbox at all. All right, they call their the freedom in the module, the randomness they call a sandbox. I'm like, that's not a term they use for a module. I call it a loose railroad. So like the Temple of Elemental Evil, loose railroad, right? Not, they say, well, there's sandbox. No, there's not. If it has an end that you have to go to, that's a railroad. I don't care if it's a straight path or a crooked one. Where you boom, 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 boom to the end. That's still a railroad. I call those not sandbox modules, loose railroads. So either you got a direct railroad or a very loose railroad. Right? I never call it sandbox, because to me, sandbox has it's already defined. It was defined in AD&D, it was defined in BECME, and it was defined in Traveler. Clearly, sandbox is pure freedom. No end aim at all. Players they lead the game, they even decide the end. Not you, the DM. You go along and you improvise and you develop from the ideas that you and the players come up with. They do stuff, you react to it, you connect the things that you're reacting with between sessions, you build from what you've improvised in at that first session. You start building between sessions. They do more, they work on the stuff that you've already built. Now you're improvising more, and you keep building and building and building. And through that process, you're building adventures. On top of that, you're also building a setting. You might start with just some random world with a city or a town. They start in the town. Well, okay, they want to go somewhere. You gotta have a forest. Okay, you're going to make a forest. You might give the forest a name, start coming up with details between the sessions of what the forest is, what's going to be in there. And you start developing adventures and a setting at the same time through that sandbox of improvisation and then working on it between sessions and developing. They met this guard. Oh, you're going to see the guard is actually related to the mayor. You never really, it's not the plan you had initially going in. It's you improvise and then you decide you're going to connect this between sessions, right? And you build and you build. That's how Mystera was built. Mystera, the setting for Beckme, that's a sandbox setting. That's a start in a simple place and then build out through sandbox gameplay. Pure sandbox adventuring, pure sandbox setting building. And the Dungeoneer Survival Guide, the Wilderness Survival Guide, and even the Manual Planes is there to help you bring, first off, like say you develop a setting for the Wilderness and Dungeoneer Survival Guides. On top of this, you can also tie it into the overall sort of wheel of what the guys put together, sort of a central planning stage for the different settings for D&D, right? So you could connect your world to the Dungeons and Dragons multiverse. And of course, higher level gaming.